Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Jen Cruz with the She-Squatchers, and we've got a very special guest for you tonight. We've got Mel Skahan from the Yakima Nation, and also he was just on the TV show Expedition Bigfoot. And since I met Mel last month in Washington at the Sasquatch Summit, I reached out to Mel and I said, I did not know you were going to be on this show. I'm so excited for you. Now I need to get his autograph because he's so famous. So I think that he's going to give me an autograph next time I see him in person. What do you think, Mel?
Yep. I've been asked for a lot of autographs since the show's come out.
Really?
And yeah, a lot of. I've been vacationing in Seattle for the last week, and then I had to go back home. And then when I was home for a couple of days, I couldn't sit down in a cafe to eat because everybody was coming up to me and it was like, I got this story to tell you. Oh, I got this story to tell you. And it was like they were lining up waiting to tell me stuff. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's hit home now.
So, I mean, people were just recognizing you right and left out there?
Well, there were people that I knew
Oh.
back home on the reservation. And but now they're coming up to me and wanting to share encounters of Bigfoot with me.
See, now that's exciting when you're somewhere not affiliated with a Bigfoot event and people recognize who you are. That's always exciting. That happened to us on our way to Washington. We switched planes in Minneapolis and got on the plane to Seattle, and the guy sitting next to us was asking us what we were traveling for, and Jenna says, "Oh, we're going to a Bigfoot conference," and the guy in front of us turned around. He goes, "Hey, I know you girls. You're the She-Squatchers." And we're like, "You know us?" That was pretty cool to be recognized somewhere out of context of the Bigfoot conferences. So that was
Yeah.
pretty cool for us. But you're gonna have a lot more of that than we have, I'm sure.
No, I don't do a lot of media stuff. I did when I first. This is my whole thing, is that when I first got into this after finding out stuff, you don't talk to anybody. You keep it to yourself because you don't want to be laughed at, ridiculed. And so you hold it in until you hear somebody talking about it, and then you go over there and kind of join the conversation. And like, well, I had this happen, and then after that, then you kind of want to find more people to talk to, and then on the reservation, on the Yakima reservation, we don't talk about the subject at all. And so, how is somebody who has experiences going to talk to an elder about it when the elder says, hey, you can't talk about that, blah, 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 And so I had to go outside the reservation in order to do it. And then I got on the internet and I found the BFRO, and then I was like, hey, I'm going to type something out to them and see what happens. And then within like 4 hours, somebody was calling me up, asking me about my encounter and everything, and then invited me out. And then you get to learn what they do and the different techniques that they do. And then all of a sudden you start talking to the other researchers and you find out, hey, you guys are having the same thing that I'm going through. And then after that, you build that confidence level up, and then you're in the club, and then once you're in the club, then you like want more. I want to go places. I want to travel. I want to talk. I want a newspaper. I want media. And then I was like, oh, I don't like the media stories that are coming out. I didn't say that. Then I went into this my tortoise shell and hid for the longest time, and then kept locally. I left the groups, and then I have 1.3 million acres here on the Yakima Reservation of my own, and then I started doing things here. And then people started hearing about it. Hey, what have you been up to? To tell them. And then all of a sudden it was like everybody wants to talk to me again because I've gained all this knowledge of everything that I was finding here. And then there we go with media again. And so that's how the Expedition Bigfoot people had contacted me.
Well, I gotta tell you, totally enjoying the show so far. Everything that I've seen of it, I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for the next week's episode to come out. Um,
Mhm.
I have a lot of tech envy.
Yes, yes, yes. I would love to be able to, have somebody waiting, the drone pilot with this FLIR and everything to be able to see heat, take signatures. You know the GPS point where your people are at, and if they're having something, then just fly it right over. And a lot of people say that you can't do that at night, but the FAA, as long as you have a 3 mile strobe on it and you're flying at night, you're good. And because I'm a pilot and I've read up on all this stuff, and so as long as they do that, you can, as long as you stay within your airspace. If they're looking for a pilot, I'm available.
Hey, that's a good way to volunteer. I'm
Yeah,
thinking I'm thinking, hey, when we come out there next April, and we go camping with you, bring your drone. That would be so awesome. That would be so
yeah,
awesome. I could
yeah.
remote view and drop a GPS point, and you could fly the drone over.
There you go. Yeah,
That would be
and
awesome. That would be
yeah,
fun.
it's all over. Yeah, and then one of the other team members has got to run towards it.
Oh, that's Jenna and Tammy for sure. They're the runners. I don't run. We always
So that's
say if anything happened, if it's something aggressive, I'll take one for the team because they can run faster than I can. So
right, right. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing that I always tell the new people that work with me in forestry is like, as long as I can outrun you, I'm fine. I'll push you down, whatever I have to do to get that advantage. So it was nice knowing you.
they always say they would never leave me behind. I'm like, yeah, but when we were in Nebraska and all of a sudden there was a big cat that roared next to us, and I said, let's get to the car. You took off running.
Yeah, we had a our archaeologist was within 5 feet of a cougar that was bedded down watching them. They walked right by it at first, and then somebody walking behind her was yelling cougar or cat, and then they all scattered. And I was like, wow, that's the worst thing you guys could have done was run.
It is. And I've always said to them, if we see a big cat or if there's a big cat, do not run. It's like throwing the ball of yarn in front of them, in front of a cat and expecting it not to pounce. Its instinct is to chase that.
Yes,
But
yes, and
they,
you are giving them that opportunity for a good chase, at least
yeah,
for 10 seconds, and then you're down.
it wouldn't even be that long for me. I'm not that fast. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the stories that you were sharing on Expedition Bigfoot.
Okay.
Being that I had the privilege to sit with you and talk with you last month at the Sasquatch Summit, you had shared some of those stories with me in person. So I know for a fact that those stories are way longer than the little bit that they put on the show. Now, granted, they couldn't make the whole show about you, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to tell the whole stories.
Okay. Um, One of the stories that has to do with the hawk feather that's on the show is something that came to us from you know our culture. You only learn from your elders, and when somebody reaches the age of where they want to collect and gather, whether it be female or male, they have to have somebody, a relative or a friend, that will take them out and show them the safe way of doing everything. And my partner and I have taught somewhere right around 20-25 kids to go out and hunt on their own and to be safe about it. And one of the kids that we taught, he had a little bit of bad side to him. And what he did was that he stole a vehicle. And he took this vehicle to the closed area, and then he broke down. He knew where he was because of the places that we taught him. And so he knew the landmarks. So he got out of the vehicle, ditched the vehicle, and started going down this waterway, this canyon. And he knew right where he was going to end up. He wanted to go to this area that has buildings to it. So as he's running and walking down through this canyon, he feels like he's being followed and watched, but not by the law enforcement, because they were nowhere near where he was at that point. And so he's making his way down, and then he comes across a nest. And he looks at it really quick, and then he's like, "Oh, I know what this is." And then doesn't his adrenaline is still pumping through him. I got to get out of here, not because of the Bigfoot, because whoever's going to be following me from law enforcement. So he's working his way down, and then he makes his way to the buildings and everything, and then stays there a couple of days, and then waits for everything to cool down, and then he gets out. So he comes back with this story about what happened, where these nests were located. And so my partner and I, well, we'll go ahead and go up into the area, but we do a lot of elk hunting and everything in that area. And so we turned it into an elk hunting / Bigfoot outing. And as we were walking around in there, we could sense that something was in there, but we didn't see or smell anything out of the ordinary. And then we kept looking for these nests as we're walking, and we never did find anything, but just this feeling of being watched and followed. And we spent about 3 hours down in there, and then we said, well, whoever's in here, we're done. We didn't find anything. We're out of here. And this is something that we always do when we know something is in the area. It's to show them that we're not gonna do any harm or anything to them. And we just put our arms up in the air and say, all right, this is your house. We're out of here. Thank you. And then we leave. And then we walk back to his truck. And then when we get inside of his truck, he starts to notice that there's something in his window. And then he goes over to the windshield there, and underneath the windshield were 3 hawk feathers that were placed on the window, and the windshield wiper over the top of them to keep them from blowing away. And then he goes, check this out. He goes, we got visited. And I said, yeah. And then we started looking around for other tire tracks. And our tracks were the only ones in there. And we started looking for prints and impressions, and we couldn't find anything. And so he just put them up in the air and told them, thank you. And we just jumped in the truck and we left. And but if you show respect to them while you're out there and let them know your intentions, then you'll be gifted something possibly when you get back.
Oh,
and so that was one of the stories I had shared with them, and the way they shared it in the television program wasn't the same way as I just told you. And then the other stories that I told them, that you could hear the melding of all the stories from 4 or 5 of them into one. And I understand, this is television and everything, and sure, everything that has happened, but we're going to go ahead and give it a little bit twist to it. So I understand why they showed it the way they did. The same outcome, gifts and everything like that. And when they showed me the pictures of the nest, they didn't say anything about hawk feathers to me. And so they showed me a couple of pictures, and they said, well, what do you think? And then when somebody puts something in front of you and goes, hey, describe that to me. You've seen this before, right? And I was like, yeah, I've seen that before, but what is it? So I couldn't give them a definitive yes on their findings without being on the ground to see how it was constructed. And so the other one that I told them was what made me the type of person that I am today. And it's very emotional, and it usually takes me about somewhere around 20 minutes to talk about it. So if you want to take a break here, I can get into that one.
Okay. Did you want to take a break?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to stop the recording and we'll come back and everybody can tune into the next video for the next story.